Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, let's jump right in with something kind of fascinating, a real paradox, actually. Think about the sun. It showers our planet with this just incredible amount of energy every single day. Enough energy, get this, to power the entire world more than 20 times over. And yet, solar technology, all that potential, it still only makes up about, what, 1% of global power generating capacity? That's a huge gap, isn't it?
It really is a staggering gap. And, well, bridging that gap is pretty much why we're here today. Our mission is to take a proper deep dive into utility-scale solar photovoltaic technology, PV. We're going to unpack how it works, look at the really big benefits, and explore how major players out there specifically, we'll look at ENGE, how they're strategically pushing solar forward in the global energy transition. We really want you to walk away with a solid understanding, those aha moments about this key clean energy source.
Sounds good. And for this deep dive, our insights are coming straight from an ENGIE solar PV brochure. So that gives us a bit of an insider's look at their strategy and their vision. All right, so let's start right at the beginning, the basics. When we talk about using the sun for electricity, we're mostly focused on these photovoltaic panels, PV panels, right? How do they actually do that? Capture sunlight, turn it into power we can use? What's this whole photovoltaic effect thing?
Exactly. PV panels are our focus.
No.
So it all starts with sunlight, obviously. Sunlight is made of photons, tiny packets of energy, and these photons hit the solar cells in the panels. These cells are usually made of silicon.
Silicon, right. Why silicon?
Well, silicon's a semiconductor. It has these unique properties. When a photon with enough energy hits a silicon atom, it can actually knock an electron loose, free it up.
Okay, so the light energy basically liberates electrons. Then what?
Precisely. And when you get a whole lot of electrons moving, that's an electric current. Specifically, it creates direct current, DC. Think of it like water flowing in one direction down a pipe.
DC, but our homes and businesses, they run on AC, alternating current.
That's the next crucial step. This DC electricity flows from the panels to a device called an inverter. And the inverter's job is, well, it's essential. It converts that DC into AC, the alternating current that our grid uses. That comes out of your sockets. It's kind of like translating it into a language the rest of the electrical system understands.
Got it. So the inverter makes it usable for, well, for us. Now, understanding that process, the physics is one thing, but scaling it up, making a real dent in global energy, closing that 1% gap we talked about, that takes massive resources, huge vision. And that's where companies like ENGIE come in, right? Tell us a bit about them. Who are they and what's their big picture goal?
Right. ENGIE is a major global player in low-carbon energy and services. They're big. We're talking 98,000 employees operating in about 30 countries. They cover the whole energy chain, really production, infrastructure, services, sales. And they are very focused on pushing towards carbon neutrality, towards net zero.
98,000 people. Wow. And they have some pretty serious targets, I understand. Net zero by 2045.
That's right. A firm commitment to net zero carbon by 2045. And alongside that, a target of 95 gigawatts of installed renewable and storage capacity by 2030.
95 gigawatts by 2030. That is incredibly ambitious.
It is. It shows how central renewables are to their strategy. And solar PV is a key part of that. Right now, about 9% of their installed capacity is solar, which works out to around 9.3 gigawatts.
Okay, 9.3 GW already. So how are they planning to ramp that up so dramatically to meet those bigger goals? I heard they're focusing quite heavily on specific regions for solar expansion.
They are. Strategically, they're really targeting utility-scale solar projects, especially in the GCC, the Gulf Cooperation Council countries, and the broader Middle East.
Ah, the Middle East. Makes sense, sunshine-wise.
Exactly. That region has some of the highest solar irradiance levels anywhere in the world, just tons of sunlight. But it's not just the sun. The market conditions there are becoming very favorable, too. You've got governments with strong energy transition plans, competitive bidding processes driving costs down, and importantly, long-term contracts like power purchase agreements, PPAs.
PPAs, right. Those give financial certainty.
Precisely. That combination, lots of sun, supportive policies, financial stability, makes it a really fertile ground for deploying large-scale solar power. It's key to their growth plan.
Okay, that strategy makes a lot of sense. High potential region, stable conditions. So zooming out a bit from just ENGIE, what are the fundamental advantages of solar PV? Why is it seen as such a, well, a game changer for the energy future?
Well, the most obvious one is that it's clean, it's renewable, the fuel source, sunlight, is free and practically unlimited. It's available almost everywhere. That's huge. And critically, the cost has just plummeted over the past decade or so. Solar is now often cheaper than building new fossil fuel power plants. That economic argument is incredibly powerful.
Cheaper than fossil fuels. That really shifts the landscape.
Absolutely. Then there's its flexibility. Solar is very scalable.
Scalable? What do you mean by that exactly, in practical
It
terms?
means it's highly modular. You manufacture these standard panels, right? You can use just a few on a rooftop, or you can link literally millions of them together for a giant utility scale plant.
Okay.
So it adapts really well from small decentralized needs up to massive grid level power generation. That versatility is a major plus.
That makes sense. Adaptable. Now, getting back to NG, you mentioned they have this integrated approach. They handle everything from start to finish.
Yes, and this is quite important to how they operate. They cover the whole life cycle. Project development, arranging the finance, managing the engineering, procurement, construction, the EPC part, then commissioning the plant, and finally the long-term operations and maintenance, the O&M.
Wow. End to end.
Exactly. Doing it all in-house like that helps minimize risks when handing over between phases. Can speed things up too. And central to their philosophy is prioritizing quality, even if it means a slightly higher initial cost.
Quality over lowest cost. Why?
Because these are long-term assets. Think about those power purchase agreements, the PPAs we mentioned. They often run for 20, 25 years.
Right. A long time.
So focusing on high-quality components and construction from day one means better reliability, lower maintenance costs, and more consistent energy production over that entire PPA duration. It's about the total lifetime value, not just the upfront price tag. Chasing the absolute lowest bid can sometimes lead to problems down the road.
That sounds like a mature approach, thinking long term. Does that focus on quality ever slow things down initially, maybe compared to others just focused on speed or lowest cost?
It potentially could. I mean, doing detailed ecological assessments up front, focusing on higher spec components, that might add a bit to the initial timeline or cost compared to a bare bones approach. But NG's view, and it's pretty well supported, is that this pays off over the 25-year life of the plant through better performance and fewer headaches. For these huge infrastructure projects, that long-term reliability is absolutely critical.
Yeah, you don't want a massive power plant underperforming for decades.
Exactly. And alongside quality, there's a strong focus on safety, world-class health, safety, and environment standards. Plus, thinking about sustainability, like integrating biodiversity considerations right from the start, conducting ecological studies, putting conservation measures in place.
Okay, that comprehensive view sounds vital for these massive projects. Let's make this more concrete. Can you give us an example? A real-world NG solar plant in action.
Sure. A great example is the Kadapa Solar Power Plant in India. It's located in Andhra Pradesh in something called the Kadapa Ultra Mega Solar Park. And this thing is big. It's a 250 megawatt peak installation.
250 megawatts. How big an area is that?
It covers about 1,250 acres
Whoa!
and uses around 1 million solar panels.
A million panels, that's
Yeah.
hard to even picture. Have you actually seen a plant that size? What's it like?
I have, yes. And the scale is just, it's immense. You stand there and it's just this sea of panels stretching out, almost futuristic. But what's also striking, apart from the sheer size, is how quiet it is. Just a low hum. Anyway, Kadapa provides green energy to about 400,000 homes.
400,000 homes. Wow.
Yeah, under a 25-year PPA. And little technical detail, it uses string inverters.
String inverters. Why is that significant?
Well, for a huge plant like this, older designs might have used large centralized inverters. If one of those failed, you could lose a big chunk of power. String inverters are smaller, and each one handles just a string of panels. It makes the whole system more resilient. If one inverter has an issue, it only affects a small part of the plant.
Ah, okay. More reliable, easier to fix too, I imagine.
Much easier to manage, especially with a million panels out there. It really shows that commitment to reliable, large-scale, clean energy infrastructure.
That Kadapa example really drives home the scale we're talking about. But, okay, there's the elephant in the room with solar, isn't there? It only works when the sun shines. Intermittency. How do we tackle that?
That's the critical next step, and it's already happening. The solution is pairing solar PV with energy storage, specifically battery energy storage systems, or BESS.
Batteries.
So the solar panels generate electricity during the day. Any excess power, instead of just being lost or curtailed, gets stored in these large battery systems. Then when the sun goes down, or it's cloudy, or even during times of peak electricity demand in the evening, you can discharge the batteries and feed that stored solar energy into the grid.
So you're basically time-shifting the solar power, making it available to 247 potentially.
Pretty much. It makes solar dispatchable. meaning grid operators can call on it when needed, not just when the sun happens to be out.
Okay, so what are the main advantages of doing that, combining solar and BES?
Well, first, you maximize the use of the clean energy generated. You get more bang for your buck from the solar panels. On average, maybe 20% more self-consumption of the decarbonized energy compared to solar alone. That obviously helps reduce CO2 emissions even further, and it can lower electricity bills too. And for the grid itself, it's a huge benefit. It improves the quality and reliability of the power supply
How so?
by smoothing out the fluctuations from solar generation, and it helps stabilize the grid frequency and voltage. Plus, it reduces the need to fire up expensive and often dirty peaker plants, usually gas plants, just to meet those few hours of high demand. The battery can handle that peak instead.
Right. Avoiding the need for fossil fuel backup, that feels like a really crucial piece of the puzzle. Connecting this to the bigger picture then, this solar plus storage combination, it really elevates solar, doesn't it, from just a green add-on to something more fundamental.
Oh, absolutely. It transforms solar from an intermittent resource
Yeah.
into a reliable, predictable power source, something you can count on, that supports greater energy independence for regions or countries. It makes the grid much more flexible, and it opens up possibilities for things like microgrids, localized energy systems, and other innovative hybrid power solutions. It really unlocks solar's full potential to be a cornerstone of the energy system.
What a fascinating journey today. We've gone from the basic science, photons knocking electrons loose, to ENGIE's massive global strategy aiming for net zero. We've unpacked the core benefits of these huge solar farms, seen a real-world example with Kadapa, and now landed on this critical pairing with battery storage.
And drilling down, what does all this mean for you listening? Well, it points towards a future with more reliable, definitely more sustainable, and increasingly flexible electricity. It's a tangible path contributing to those big global decarbonization goals we hear so much about. It's not just theory, it's actually happening.
Precisely. It's about building a cleaner, more resilient energy system for everyone. So let's end with a thought to chew on. We started with that paradox. The sun provides so much energy, over 20 times what the world needs, yet solar is still only about 1% of global generation. Given everything we've discussed today, the technology, the economics, the storage solutions, what critical innovations or maybe shifts in policy or investment do you think are still needed? What's the key to unlocking that other 99% potential and really letting this abundant, clean resource dominate? Something to think about. I'll catch you on the next